they have been African American youth have been systematically uh, taken away from a conversation with the elders. Um, if you know, there are different phases of life. You don't think at 7 years old like you would think at 20 years old. It must change. And these are learning years. And if you listen to elders or question them about your path, you will get a lot of answers. And you will get a lot of answers not to make a lot of mistakes. But the youth today don't seem to associate with the elders. They associate with themselves. And that's why I never liked peer counseling, because the peer is having the same problems you are and he hasn't answered them. So I never liked peer counseling. I think it's valuable in some aspects, but the youth of today have to get with the elders who have went down the trail that they're trying to go down. And the quicker that you do that, the more you will be successful in what you're trying to do. Because the elder will show you his mistakes. He may not be rich, but he can tell you how he lost it or how he missed getting what he wanted. So that's very valuable to you as a youngster, not to make the same mistake that the elder did. And the elder, he's not perfect. He's like everyone else. But as he moves along the way, he sees his mistakes because he's either punished for them or rewarded. So I think every youth today should get an elder. And all elders are not wise. They're not all wise. And they don't have all the answers. But they can direct you to where the answers is at, even if they're uneducated. Most of my teachers couldn't read or write. My grandfather was the most wisest man I've ever met. It was only two things that my grandfather couldn't do, and that was read and write. But he was so wise, and I recognized that young. My grandmother couldn't read or write well either, but she was a scholar in life. And I learned so much from them by paying attention to them. And before my grandmother died, she pulled me to the side and she thanked me for listening. And I thanked her for talking to me constantly. Uh, she kept me from making so many mistakes. And because I listened, others in the family didn't. They have to understand that yesterday went away. What you going to do today? There's nothing you can do to change something that doesn't exist anymore. That's over with, but it's still affecting you. What are you going to do today? You have to move on from your mistakes, no matter what they were, and try to, you know, not make those mistakes again. Like those who continue to go in and out of prison. I went one time, and I never forgot that. And I promised myself. I moved on. Um, I remember, um, this my first job that I got when I got out of prison. I came out on work release, and I went to work for a finance and furniture store and a finance company. And the the gentleman who interviewed me, he interviewed me 3 times, 2 hours each time. And in the last interview, he asked me, he said, "Well, you're an ex-drug addict. You just got out of prison." He said, "How many of you who have went on this journey are successful and don't go back to prison and drugs?" I said, "Less than 3%, sir." And he said, "Oh, well, what makes you different?" I said, people like you, sir. He said, what do you mean? I say, people like you won't give me an opportunity to do something different. You're pushing me back by not giving me this job, because I knew he was getting ready to refuse me. I said, you're pushing me back into the streets because I'm the kind who's going to survive by any means necessary if I have to. And his next question was, do you have a suit? I said, what do you mean? He says, you're hired. You need a suit. Go down the street to this tailor and have him make you a suit. And that's how I, was able to get that job, my first job, that put me on the road to where I'm at today. Otherwise, like others and most of my peers, I'd have been going in and out of prison, on and off drugs. But listening, and not hiding my past, I use it as a stick to fight with. Well, there's an energy that makes a young person think they know everything. And it was in me. I would argue with elders on things that I really didn't know much about. They knew much more about what I was arguing with them about. But my energy, my youthfulness, and that type of, was like a motivating force, that made me think that I knew I would go. And it was only a thought. It had no basis of fact or depth. So again, always my greatest advice is listen to elders. I know that you have to have your academic education. I'm not saying anything against that. But most of my teachers, most of the scholars I met in life were people who couldn't read or write.